As you can see, Black Clover Mobile is slightly broken right now, as you can do things like this. Nice. But although this does crash your game, there are other problems such as gear farming and Noel, which are also troubling things in the game, but how can they exactly fix these? So, let's start with gear farming, as this is probably one of, if not the worst systems that I've ever seen in gacha games of, you know, my many 5+, maybe 6+ years of playing gacha games, as, you know, there are 15 stages which you can play, and they go all the way up to 198,000 CC, which is, you know, very, very strong. You know, the enemies are very strong in there, so you'd think because the stages have really high CCs, the return on investment would be pretty high. Well, you'd be wrong, and I mean really wrong, as you can do over 100 runs on these stages and spend over 1,000 stamina and not get a single piece of LR gear, down to the fact that farming gear is all down to chance. And you can even do this with drop rate food to give yourself an increased chance of getting gear and still not get anything in return. So how can VIC Games Studios fix this? Well, what I would suggest is that they add a pity system, or like a pity meter that you can fill up by playing gear stages. So for example, after you've beaten, you know, a certain gear stage maybe 5 or 10 times, you could either have a greatly increased chance of getting LR gear, or just get one piece of LR gear guaranteed for free. And then if you combine this with actually raising the base rates for LR gear, you'd be able to actually add consistency to your farming, and it won't have to come down to, you know, how lucky you are even with these increased rates. As you know, I think the best thing for the players is, you know, just that consistency, as, you know, if the players knew that when they were going to farm some gear, they would be guaranteed, you know, some actual value and some LR gear, then I think, you know, that certainty, you know, being guaranteed something and something, you know, valuable, you know, I think that would, you know, prevent the demotivation of players, you know, to farm gear. Now, I think some people aren't going to be really happy with me when I say this, as I think Noel needs changing, potentially nerfing, as mainly just in Arena in the moment. You know, in my opinion, in Arena, the meta is only Noel, and it's Noel and whoever can make her stronger, like Valto, Sally, or Gauche. And for me, it's just really boring to play Arena, and as it's the same thing over and over again. It's the same team, and, you know, I'm just thinking, you know, in the future when, you know, new players that are just picking up the game, you know, when they come to play the game and, you know, they can't get Noel, and, you know, they understand that she's just still broken, it's just not going to be very good, as, you know, she is limited by the Season 2 banner, as then, you know, they're not going to have a fun time at all in Arena, because literally the difference between her and all the other DPS characters in the game is just crazy. So yeah, unless new characters counter her, yeah, she's going to be unstoppable for such a long time. As I said before, the power creep from DPS characters to then her is just a massive difference. As, you know, before, you know, we were happy with, you know, with doing like a couple 100,000 damage with other DPS characters, you know, once they were built out quite heavily. But now Noelle is able to hit for like over 1 million, which is like, it's just a massive difference. It's a massive jump in damage. And, you know, in my other videos, you know, I've always said that, you know, she's literally like everything in one, from a supporter to tank to DPS, etc. So my suggestion to fix Noelle is either to nerf her to make her more balanced, you know, especially with her skill 2 and her damage as well. Like, it's just way too good at the moment. Or make her and other seasonal characters, you know, more readily available via, you know, like an exchange shop, so new players that, you know, might have missed, you know, previous seasons can still get these seasonal characters and, you know, actually be able to use them on their account and in their teams, making it, you know, actually fair for every player, that, you know, no matter when you started playing the game. The bond system in Black Clover Mobile is overall pretty great, I think. I think it's a really good addition to the game, but for me, you know, that there are just a few things I like to change, as, you know, when a new character drops, for example, you want to be able to summon for them, and then once you get them, you want to be able to use them as quickly as you possibly can. But this is made, you know, this whole process is just made so much longer thanks to the bond system in Black Clover Mobile, as, you know, to get that certain character to level 10 before you can LR them, you know, it's a bit of a grind, I'll be honest, you know, having to get their bond level to level 10 before you can actually LR them, so you can get their character specific mage pieces. But I don't know, maybe I'm just impatient and lazy, but I don't know, for me it kind of ruins the fun of pulling for a new character, because when I pull for a character, I, you know, then know that I need to not only get their bond level to 10, I then have to get them to level 100, then farm for weeks just to get some decent gear for them. So yeah, it's just not really great, and, you know, it gets a little bit boring sometimes. So my suggestion that I would, give to VIC Games Studios is, to fix this would be, to give us like an item or something that we can obtain via events or shops, or whatever, or, from daily login. Nah, that's too easy, but, just that allows us to get a character's bond level to level 10, or to be maxed out, just so, players don't have to waste their time on, really boring grinding, as, it kind of just, for me, takes out the fun of, actually being able to pull and use new characters. Then the next thing I have on my list is the auto AI, which is, this one isn't as big of an issue, it's just something, that I would like changing, as, the auto AI in Black Clover Mobile is actually, pretty decent, but there are some, slight improvements that I would suggest, as, for example, characters like Leopold and Solid Silver, who on their skill 2s hit the main target and then the 2 to the side of them. But, when you use this, skills like this on auto, it doesn't tend to prioritize hitting multiple targets over the target with the lowest amount of HP, which, I guess that's just down to my personal preference, but I think overall it would, it would make those characters so much more valuable. So my suggestion would just be to change how, the targeting works with skills like Leopold's and Solid skill 2, as, it would, add a lot more consistency to these characters when autoing with them, and will make them a lot more usable when, auto farming anything in the game. And I would also just like to see, just a lot more customization with the actual auto feature, as, I feel like being able to control just a lot more with what the characters do. Like, for example, if you want, like, so you're using the Season 2 Gauche and you want him to buff a single person only, then you could choose that. Although I think the AI does a pretty good job of doing that, but sometimes, it's not as consistent as I would like it to be. Then, finally, we have the Arena game mode, as this is probably one of, if not the best place for, players to get black crystals on a consistent basis. However, the actual, like, structure of the game mode and how it plays, I don't really find all that enjoyable at the moment, as, to start with, this is a game mode where you play against AI and not real people, but you play against real people's teams, which for me does, end up reducing the enjoyment of the game mode, as, if it was real-time PvP and more against AI, I think it would be, it would be way more enjoyable, as I think there'll be a lot more strategy that you could, employ. I feel like the team variety would be a lot greater, if Noel didn't exist, that is, and, to the game mode, as, when you play against, AI, it's just very easy to anticipate what they're going to do, as, the AI will do whatever, the real person has set that team to do, meaning, that it's going to be doing the same thing over and over and over again. And then this, it also just, provides a very repeatable experience as well, which is just not great. And, another thing that, I'm really not a fan of is the actual, structure of the game mode, as, unless if you're in the top ranks, you have 3 teams to choose from which you can face. And for me, this just, then promotes you to really pick and choose what kind of teams you want to face, which I guess, for some people is nice, but for me personally, I find it a little bit boring, because it takes out, the challenge and, the anticipation of what you're going to face. And, because I feel like if you're given a random team to face, I feel like, you're more, I feel like the enjoyment is increased, because you've got to, like, think on the fly, think on the go of, what you've got to do in order to beat that team. Whereas, like, when you get to choose which team you face, you can just switch your team comp to completely counter that team composition, and then be able to beat it 100% of the time, which, again, like I said before, for some people, they might like that, but for me personally, I'm not really too much of a fan of it, as, again, I would just like an element of, randomness to it, just to make it a little bit more exciting for me, anyway, and, I'm sure some other people might end up agreeing as well. So overall, I would suggest, that VIC Games Studios adds, real-time PvP, as well as just a random matchmaking system that puts you up against a random team when playing the current AI arena, as I think, it would just give you much more of a challenge and more of a want to play it, because, not knowing who you're playing up against can be quite exciting in my opinion. So there you have it. Those are, I think it was 5 things that, I think could help change Black Clover Mobile in a positive way, but make sure you let me know your own changes you'd like to see to be added to the game in the comments below, and also what you thought of my ideas as well. So, but finally, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace!